Okay. All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. We'll get actually started in like a minute or two. I just want to make one last trip downstairs to make sure that nobody is stuck. And this actually won't work. I think this is a big space for the number of us that are here, but more intimate would be better. So if those of you who are sitting there, if you could just volunteer to come up, I think we want to just be in a small gathering as possible. Sort of think conference room style, and then I'm going to try to screen this so that we can capture. But I'll be right back.
Hey, I'm good. Are you leading your session?
Hey guys, my name is Addison. We're with David. I'm a PM here at Labs. Just wanted to host you guys. I think this is one of like the more mature peer groups in San Francisco, and we want to try to keep this thing going through this space for this event. A little bit about Pivotal Labs, if you're not familiar. So we're a software consultancy that practices Agile, and we have 3 disciplines: development, design, and product management. And it's kind of like those 3 working close proximity with tight feedback loops to make awesome software. Welcome. Any questions? Yeah, Pivotal Labs has been around for a long time. Yeah, a little bit of history. You guys know what pair programming is? Pair programming? Yeah, so we take that to like the nth degree. We pair on pretty much everything. Part of extreme programming, practices, extreme development, in there, it's pair programming, all that stuff. It's rapid iterations. So we pair not only development, where it's like one person writing the test and another person writing the function that makes that test pass. We do it in PM too. So one person might write the story, another person write the acceptance criteria, kind of ping pong back and forth. We've been doing that for a long, long time. Any questions? Labs, Corey. Perfect timing.
So you guys know everything you used to know about Pivotal Tracker now?
Oh yeah, we make Pivotal Tracker. That's like a small group in Colorado that makes that thing neat.
Gotcha. Thank you again for hosting us here at back. Yeah, so quick overview of the format for the night. Again, this is a little weird. We show like a conference room, and I hope that you all got to know each other a little bit during the first few minutes. But I was hoping to spend the night in the beginning portion, sort of getting an understanding of what your goals are, but partly also your familiarity with the project management tool. And then the bulk of the evening session, we will actually dive into trying to work with Pivotal Tracker, get you familiar with that project management tool. My personal goal for bringing you guys out is, as product managers, I want to kind of push you and challenge you to think about how you go about doing project management. Not simply to pick up the skills around Pivotal Tracker or any other products that we may use to do your project management, but have a good sense of why do you need project management tools? How do you go about doing project management, right? So I'd love for that discussion to take place tonight. That's a goal and aspiration. And also, I want that discussion to come out of our conversations. Rather than me teaching here, this is what an epic is, this is, because that's useless. I think you can get that content online. So that's part of what this evening is designed to be. And I hope that aligns partly with your goals for tonight. Any questions so far? So let's start with actually a little assessment of your experience with project management. Um, who uses project management tools at your software development work or development period? Raise hands. Okay. So some form of tools, right? Have you all heard of tools like Trello, Basecamp? Yeah. Okay. And who hasn't used tools or hasn't heard of these tools? Okay. Well, let me actually share why I'm asking. I'd love to be able to share for those of you who have not used tools with those who have, and sort of like pair with each other, like a shuffle. You guys, can we sort of Vin and Alex, how are you guys in terms of your experience with project management?
Used a little bit of Trello.
Okay, let's start there.
Does anyone use a non-digital, like a software-based project management tool, like this board across the wall or anything like that? I feel like that could.
Yep, like post-it notes, visual thinking kind of thing. We don't have a whiteboard here, do we? Or is this whole thing whiteboard? Can we actually? How will we turn this off? The projector. Uh-huh. Please. Because I feel like I'm in the limelight. I really don't want to. Instead, I want to put Alex on the limelight. She said you've heard of Trello before. Can you explain, or can you explain to the gathering here what Trello is?
So again, very limited experience, but what I liked about it was very simplistic kind of approach.
Great. It's simplistic.
Where you have sort of within your panel, you'll have different types of boards, and within each board you'll have different actions. Of course, you describe the action, you can put details in it, assign it to someone, comments, anybody can have comments, and you can easily sort of drag in through your timeline. So the way we used it is you have sort of, sorry. So the way we used it is you have, the first one was sort of open item, ongoing and closed, very basic kind of thing. So it helped to see what sort of stories or actions were still to be done. The programmer could pick the first one, work on it, so then we would know what they're working on.
Okay.
And if they had any questions, they could have comments, we could reply to it, and then once they're done, they could put finished, and we could check if finished work and see if it met our expectations. And if it didn't, we'd go back to open.
Did you all hear that? Yeah, sort of. Good job. Thank you for sharing. This is the Trello board. And I think some of the adjectives that Alex used, like simplicity, right, is something that comes to mind. Why do you use Trello as opposed to Tracker? Did you guys in your team discuss the various options, or you just jumped to Trello?
No, it was decided by the developers.
Developers did it. Okay, so you went with what they were using. And so this is something that you guys are doing between the product team and the developer team. Everybody comes up with the Trello board, right? So there's the dev team. Could someone share with us their experience with another tool, another project manager? Any volunteers from?
We use Rally.
Rally. Okay.
It's similar, yeah, we use stories, graphics, and that with burn down charts, stories, tasks as well.
Yeah.
You can have multiple formats as well.
from hearing from you that it's very similar in simplicity of the layout and its organization. Anyone else?
I use Jira. It's very similar to the same Scrum board of the issue tracker. It's most track
Sure.
and manage projects.
Roman, can I ask you to share a little bit about the actual product that your team is building using Jira?
Well, different projects. Could be any project basically.
Sure.
We work on some IT projects with I don't know, people use it for like reconstruction projects or design projects. Any project. Okay. Single tasks and manage any of these project managers.
I'm going to put you on the spot. Would you please come up for a moment? And then, I don't know how well you remember it, but I would love it if you sort of kind of diagram Jira, the screens that you're familiar with. There's different views, but maybe share with the classroom here, because I don't think everybody's familiar with Jira, what that view looks like, and then kind of think through how it works.
Like basic dashboard for issue tracking system is just a set of issues with different flags like ID, responsible for which component, and then with some plugins like Greenhopper, this issue tracking is converted to Scrum board. It will help to visualize and plan sprints and project in general.
Right. Okay, great.
I think in Jira you see a similar view, like you go with Agile view. So you see that to do in progress view in Jira and Scrum.
Agile Scrum view. I think this particular view is more of the prioritization,
Yeah,
right?
yes, more than Agile. They're Agile.
Who else has used Atlassian tool? Jira, Confluence, HipChat, right? They're all sort of integrated. Let's step outside from, because we talked about different kind of tools. So these exist, and I think we're seeing one theme or one word that I heard across all of these, Rally, Trello, Jira, was something called user story. So does everybody here know what a user story is? Audrey, I think you shared that you just recently became a product manager. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell us what a user story is. Can you give us an example of what a good user story would look like?
Sure. So a user story, in my own words, is information that the business uses to communicate with developers. Or what happen. And in some ways, it's the business, the users, and the development team all communicating with the product team with this user story. So I think of myself as writing computer code, but in regular language for my development team. And there are a few different formats for user stories. The traditional framework is as a type of user, I want some goal or desire, comma, so that see benefits. And it's this first-person narrative to the developers and the team in the shoes of the end.
So as a user, do something, right?
As a who I want so that why.
For the goal benefits. Does anybody have anything to add to this about user story?
Yeah, we use investment for that. Should be independent, vehicle, should be time bound. Not be prescribed, be very flexible
still on the user story? How do you mean specifically? I didn't catch what you mean.
Some task is like when you go to speak and you figure out that this particular story has task which is like which cannot be bound with the kind of some then you should basically take the story stories or stories that is from
So, Alex, I'm curious, when you guys work with a Trello board, right, and you have your, however you lay out the different columns, are each cards written out as user stories, or is it something more like a to-do task card?
It ended up being more
To-do task. And I think that's not atypical when you use Trello board. Trello board ends up being kind of like, well, like the way I normally organize mine tend to be sort of like, here's a pipeline of things to do, the things that are getting done, and then things that are kind of done pipeline, and then it's like sort of a visual layout of to-do tasks. Jira, I don't know how to pronounce that, I never asked you that people. But I had a Scrum, I worked for a team where the Scrum, lead engineer was actually the Scrum master, and rather than the product manager, and he was a little bit of a stickler for the user story. So he spent, I don't know how much of his time, but a good chunk, let me say like 20–30% of his time, just like getting his team, the entire team to say, you gotta prioritize each story. Like, we need to know as engineers what the user story is, and we need to have it in this kind of format. As a user, you know, this feature or this process is going to do X, Y, Z because that, or because we, as a user, want this or that. Kind of. So that's sort of an experience. Does anybody have any other kind of thoughts or comments to add to user stories or products that we've talked about so far? Okay. Why am I kind of painting this picture of sort of the Trello board, Jira, and again, raise your hand please if you've not used these products. We're going to actually, in a moment, dive in and sort of play with Pivotal Tracker. Hopefully some of these concepts translate. What I want to, without kind of saying this is what it is, what I want to encourage you to think about is, you guys as a team, when you're using different tools, right, you're using it for a reason. And we talked about how we're using it to communicate with the dev team. So think about what is a tool, how much simplicity or complexity do you need to involve in communicating with the team, in communicating the product team's agenda, vice versa too, right? Because you want your engineers to be empowered to be doing the work efficiently. Part of your roles as product manager is as a resource manager. How does the tool serve that need in terms of communication, which is a very, very important responsibility for the product manager. Something else that we just highlighted was this theme of user story, which comes up whenever we talk about project management. Do you, as a product manager, have a very good sense of what user success looks like? And for the product that you are working on, whether it's complex or simple, how are you translating that user success into your product? Are you able to do that simply by just having a stand-up meeting every morning with your team and not even having anything written down? Or is it one of these traditional sort of product requirements document, 10, 20 pages that Cisco's and Intel's of the world still like to use? Or is it something more agile, which is sort of the context for tonight's topic? Pivotal Tracker, Jira, Trello, these are all intended to serve agile web development. So that's kind of what I want you to think about and keep in mind. So let me write that down. Right, one key theme, rather than jumping on a bandwagon of, oh, well, Pivotal Tracker is cool. I'm sure it is. I think so. But you know, you as product managers making these decisions about your project and your team need to think about, why are we using certain kinds of tools? What are our objectives? And for that, you need to really step back and think about these kinds of things, right? Communication, which we mentioned. And also, you have to know sort of, yes, of course, you have to know what the roadmap is, you have to know what the goal is, business goals, but those, among the biggest ones, I guess, is customer success or user success. And of course, your job is to align that with business success. Let me just say a little bit more about this. You know, I could use the dating site, website analogy. I've never worked for OkCupid, but I imagine, having used it, I imagine part of their business goal is to get as many page views and as many sort of engagement from their users as possible. I'd be curious to kind of assess or understand what their customer success or user success looks like. If you think about the purpose of why a dating site exists, it's intended to help you find that person that you love, right? And should you have to go through 1,000 profiles to find that person, or should it try to get you to that point, you know, early on? And you can see that there is kind of a disparity there or a tension there between a business goal and the user goal, right? So that's something to think about, but these are the things that you want to know. And these are kind of the higher level underpinnings for going into then what kind of project management tool will you use will help you be effective. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's actually, I wanted to stop broadcasting this. I wanted to show one thing